Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. Alright, in this video series I'm going to cover this new security camera setup from Eufy Security, and they just came out with this professional lineup, and this is the E330 camera. So these cameras are hardwired with power all the time. They do 24/7 recording, but they use a wireless technology to actually get the video footage back to their home base, which you can see here on this box here. And so these three boxes are three different kits that you can buy. One of them has 4 cameras, one has 2 cameras, and one is just a single camera. Now what I'm going to do to make the videos shorter is I'm going to break them out into 3 different videos. One of them is going to cover the unboxing and kind of what all these cameras are about, why you might want them, why you might not want them. And then another video will be the installation and going through all the settings. They have lots of different settings and things that you need to know about to set it up properly for your house. And the last one is actually going to go through what I have experienced with it after several weeks of testing with myself, delivery people, and all the different pros and cons that I found actually by living with it here at my house with all 7 cameras set up over time. So that's how I'm going to break out the videos. You can see the video description down below. I will have a link to all of them so that you can check them all out, whichever one is the most interest to you. Alright, so for this video we're going to do the unboxing. We're going to go through these different kits and what makes them different, as well as the initial setup for the camera system on your tablet or your phone. And now these ones are the professional lineups. This is the E330 camera, and they come in a couple different options. So the big box here on the bottom is their 4 camera setup with their home base. So this is a S380 home base, and then they have a smaller one which is a 2 camera setup and a home base. There's some differences I'll talk about in a second. And then you can also buy the camera itself as a standalone camera. Now all of these have different capabilities from a standpoint of what the kit includes. So this kit includes some extra length of power wires. I'll talk about that, how these cameras have to be plugged into an AC 110 outlet, but they are wireless for the data transmission. So you don't need an Ethernet wire ran to them. They use wireless technology to get back to the home base. And now the other thing that the 4 camera kit includes that the 2 cam kit does not is a hard drive in the home base. So the home base has the option of adding a hard drive. I think it has a 16 gigabyte, SSD built into it all the time. But if you want to do 24/7 recording, you want to pop in a larger hard drive. So the 4 cam kit includes a 1 terabyte hard drive in there, but you can add up to a 16 terabyte hard drives. I think it's a 2.5 inch, kind of standard computer hard drive. This one has the home base, but no hard drive. So you would have to add that if you want to do a 24/7 recording. Otherwise, you can have it run off of just motion detect. Now, kind of the same thing with the standalone camera. You can get just the camera if that's what you want, and you can plug it into 110 volt AC, and the camera would be up and working, but you wouldn't be able to do the 24/7 recording. You would basically be motion activated recording using Wi-Fi to notify you. Now, what I really like about Eufy is that they have some really cool technology as far as not only the different variety of cameras they offer you, but also some of the features that they offer. So they have it, they call it, I think, Bionic Mind or something, AI, but it's basically their artificial intelligence tracking for people, for vehicles. And not only does it recognize those different types of object classes, but it can even recognize people's faces and actually do facial recognition and say, hey, it looks like Nate just showed up at the home, and you can actually get a notification that Nate arrived at home using the facial recognition. The other cool thing that they've added now is what they call cross-camera tracking. So this is really important, I think, when you have these cameras set up throughout your house, is if a person or an object goes from one camera, walks around your house, it actually tracks that for you and makes it easy to view in the app. And I'll show that obviously how that works once we get these set up. But basically, in the past, you would have to go to each camera and try to find when that person showed up. And this one is going to show you, hey, Nate showed up at the house, and here he is walking from the front to the side of the house all the way to the back. And it's going to make that easy to view and save that footage. So those are some really neat things that they are doing. And let's open these up. I'm going to unbox them. I'll show you the components. I'll compare them to some of these other cameras. This is a little solar camera. This is another hardwired one with panning and tracking and zoom, as well as a big floodlight. We'll talk about maybe why you'd want one of these or one of these other cameras. And then we're going to install them. And of course, I'm going to do a lot of testing with them, and I'll give you that. So all that's going to be in this video. If you want to skip just a single part of it, then use the chapter feature down below, and you can scroll along the time frame and find just what you want to watch. Otherwise, stick along and let's go through it. All right, so I saved you from the actual unboxing, and here are the 4-cam setup with the HomeBase, the single cam setup, and the dual cam setup with HomeBase and all their accessories. So as I mentioned before, the 4-cam, what's kind of unique about it is that it comes with this extra 10-meter long cable, so that's about 33 feet long. Now you can get this by itself on the Eufy website. You can just search for extension cable and it'll show up there. I think it's like $18.99 from a price standpoint. Now you can also, to be honest with you, you can buy this elsewhere too. So this is a 5.5 by 2.1 millimeter round plug, so I think that's fairly standard. The power adapters are 12 volt and 1 amp output, so that's what power these devices take. So without that extension, I think it's 16 feet is what you get standard per camera in the kit without it. So for most places, that should be enough to get you to a power outlet. And you can route these obviously through like the Eve or socket. I'll install these and I'll show you. And you can see here this mounting bracket is adjustable where you can loosen it and you can have it mount horizontal, vertical, different directions there. And then of course you can place this so that it has the right field of view for wherever you're looking at it. Now on the front side of it, you do want to make sure you take off that little sticker so that it can actually see during setup. Now there is a light on here. Now it's not a super bright light. I think it's something like 100 lumens. So, you know, it is something that lights up a little bit, but it's not going to be like a big floodlight that's going to light up. But overall, I would say this is a fairly compact setup in this because it does not have a battery, does not have solar panel in there. And then it has the Wi-Fi built into it for the actual connection. Now a note on that Wi-Fi is they have a proprietary signal that goes from the camera unit directly to the home base and doesn't use your home Wi-Fi. They say it's about 82 feet of max range that it has in there. But I'll get into something here where they have the ability now, and they didn't have this before, and I'm actually glad they added it, where if you have to place the camera somewhere where it does not get signal to the home base, you actually can use your home Wi-Fi instead, and it'll connect to your home Wi-Fi router, and then you most likely are going to have your home base plugged in by Ethernet to your home router, and then that's how it will connect. So really it has the option of either connecting directly to the home base or your home Wi-Fi, whichever one actually works better in your setup. So that's a really cool thing. I'll show you how to set that up as well. Now, the other thing that I mentioned is the home base on the 4-camera kit. If you pop it open, you can take the top off, and then you can see here there is a little screw and a slot. This is the 2.5-inch hard drive, and this one has a 1 terabyte one pre-installed from the packaging. So now that 1 terabyte with the 4 cameras, if all 4 of them are 24/7 recording, that gives you 10 days of recording. And obviously you can bump up to a bigger hard drive size if you want to, and each terabyte is going to give you another 10 days per the 4 cameras. So that's a good reference point to that. So here, the 2-cam setup is exactly the same, except you don't get the terabyte hard drive and you don't get the extension cable. But otherwise, it kind of works very similarly. Okay, now also in the kit, they give you obviously screws and fasteners to attach this. There's 3 holes for each camera that get screwed in, but then they also give you these little cable ties that allow you, it has a double-sided sticky tape, but it also has a hole that, and they give you little tiny screws and anchors that you can then screw in your anchors and keep your wire tidy in a corner or wherever you're going to place this this cable. And then also they have these little rubber or silicone grommets. What these are for is actually the connection that you make from the camera to the power cable. This goes in there and makes it watertight. So that's what those are for. So now let's talk about these cameras versus some of the other ones. Now, these I'm excited to get because I have a lot of cameras today, and many of them are hardwired or solar, but the hardwired ones are more like these big floodlight ones, and they do panning and tilting, which is a great feature, and I like that they have lights because I replace floodlights on them. But it also meant that I didn't have as much flexibility with where I actually installed them, because I had to install them on the box directly to hardwire them. So these cameras give you the flexibility with these small cables, is that you can route them, put them in different soffits or eaves or corners, which I would like to put them in. And then I like that they do the 24/7 recording. None of mine do 24/7 today. But then I also have some solar ones, which are great from being very flexible to put places, other than you got to make sure you get sunlight, of course. But then they only do recordings based off motion. So each of these have kind of their pros and cons and drawbacks to them. But these ones I'm excited to get set up throughout the house. And then I'm going to have a 24/7 perimeter recording out there. But to be honest with you, I am going to have a few other cameras still out there because they meet a specific need. So that's what you'll have to look at, is what exactly are your needs and where can you put these. Okay, so they also have a quick start guide here. Now it does tell you that what you want to do is set them up here inside your house first to get them paired to your home base before you go and mount them. So I'm going to do that first here. Obviously I have a lot of them I got to do. I'll show you an example of one of them, of adding the camera to a home base and getting it set up, and then we'll go out and get them installed. So the instructions tell you that they want your home base to be plugged in via Ethernet directly to your router. And then during the setup, you need the camera within like 3 feet of the home base. So for me, for recording, that doesn't work very well because my router is in a closet over there and I don't want to film over there. So I'm actually using, this is called like a media bridge, it's really old, but it's going to be my Ethernet cable. So this actually connects Ethernet through Wi-Fi back to my main router back there. So that's what I'm going to do. But just know that you're really supposed to hook it directly up to your main router if you have that ability to. So once I get it set up, I will move it over there and it'll be hooked up directly to my router. So let's do that. Now I have my power cord plugged in behind me. So I'm going to power up one of these cameras now to get that one going. So I see the light on there, light on there. So now I'm going to open up my Eufy app in my tablet. Now, I already have it downloaded, but if you don't, you can either search for it on the Apple Store or the Play Store and just download the Eufy Security app. So I'm already in my Eufy Security app. I'm going to hit the plus icon, and now I'm going to add my home base to it. I'm going to add my home base first, then I'll add the camera to the home base. So now this is the HomeBase 3 or the S380. So I click add. I'm going to tell it to add it to my EufyCam Home.
Welcome to Eufy Security. Follow the instructions in the Eufy Security app to set up the system.
Okay, so that obviously started up. It did take it, a minute or so to start up. I click next. Now I want my phone to connect to the same Wi-Fi, which it is. And now it's turned to blue, so yep. Now I'm going to scan the QR code on the bottom of the home base. So this is how it's going to know what to connect to.
HomeBase has received a pairing request. Press the sync button on the back to accept it.
Okay, so now on the back here, there's a sync button to press.
HomeBase was added successfully.
So that was really quick and easy to add. I like that they had the QR code. That gives it a serial number, and then you press the sync button, and now I'm just going to give it its name. Okay, so I'm going to call this one the 24/7 recording base. I actually have another home base already set up that is not 24/7, so I'm just going to call this one the 24/7 one. All right, so now it was added. So now this is where it has the face management, so I can have the faces saved and it can recognize them. You have to agree to those terms and conditions, or you can skip it completely if you do not want them. So I'm going to go ahead and add my face to it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be a face. So it's going to add it. And now it has my face saved. How beautiful. And I can call myself Nate. Okay, so now I have the home base added. Now I'm going to add the camera. So that one's been powered up. I assume the lights may be blue by now, blinking red, okay. So now I just need to pick which camera it is. So it's a professional camera, E330, add it to the same home. Now I'm gonna, this is where I had to rename this one to something unique. So I'm gonna call it 24/7 base, which is where I want it to be saved to. Now, yep, it's red.
Press the sync button until you hear the beep.
So now there's a sync button on the back of this camera as well that you need to press. And it's actually hard to see, but it's right back there's a little button. Okay, so
Ready to add device. Connecting to the Wi-Fi network. Please wait. Setup was successful. Device was added successfully.
So I don't know if you could hear that, but the reason why your camera has to be within 3 feet is the HomeBase actually makes a high-pitched noise. I don't know what it's doing, but it's, you know, communicating with that high-pitched noise to the camera, and the camera listens for that, and I guess it gets the Wi-Fi password or whatever connection to this HomeBase. So that's why you have to have them so close, and that's why you want to do the setup here inside before you move them outside. All right, so you can give it whatever name you want and hit save. You can change the stuff later as well. Now, what I'm going to note is I need to actually name, or I need to write down the name of these cameras, otherwise I'm going to lose track of it. So that's something I'll do probably with a Sharpie on the base plate or something, is I'll give it some kind of a name so I can keep track of which ones of these go where. Now here's saying I need to format this hard drive. So I'll let it do that. Okay, so now you can see here it tells you to find a place within 16 feet of a power outlet that you can plug it into, but you can extend it up to basically 100 feet. So if you really need to, you can get that 5.5 by 2.1 millimeter plug cable, and then you can expand it. Now they give you a couple tips for mounting. You want it about 7 to 10 feet high, and then ideally you have a slight downward angle, maybe 10 degrees up to 25 degrees downward for the camera. That's probably the best for like sunlight, so you don't get too much glare, as well as for AI tracking and whatnot. That's where it's really designed to work best with. Okay, so now I just have to add each of these cameras to it, and then I'm going to go outside. I'm going to install them. I'll show you the install setup so you see what it's like. I'll tell you any kind of learnings I had from it, and then we'll get to actually get the real footage that happened over the next week or two.